You're listening to Vet Synapse, a podcast connecting the world of research, innovation, and practical help to the veterinary profession. I'm your host, Dr. Philip Judge from Vet Education. Let's get connected with Vet Synapse. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Vet Synapse. And today, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Sarah Howard, who's the head vet of PAW by Blackmores. Sarah is going to talk to us today about liver function and dysfunction and how we can help animals with liver dysfunction with the use of antioxidants and a few other things as well. So firstly, Sarah, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us today. And secondly, I'm just wondering if you could provide a little bit of background about liver function and why, when the liver's not working so well, things can turn pretty bad for our patients.
Thank you so much for having me, Philip. It's a pleasure to be here as a guest on your podcast. And yes, we are going to be talking all about the liver today and what happens when the liver is diseased and how we can support the liver with some supplementation, in particular antioxidants, as you mentioned. But before we get there, I thought it would be important to discuss some basics about liver anatomy and the main liver functions in the body and what happens when the liver becomes diseased. So if you're happy, I'll just jump right in and discuss the basics of liver anatomy. So essentially, the liver is one of the largest and most important organs in the body. It has many different functions, including metabolism of different nutrients, so carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. It produces bile. It is an important place where lipid-soluble vitamins such as A and D and E and K are stored. Obviously, it's an incredibly important detoxifying organ in the body, and it's largely involved in excretion of a lot of waste products and toxins. It also produces the all-important clotting factors that circulate in the blood, as well as other plasma proteins and hormones. So it plays a huge amount of different functions, and that's why when the liver becomes dysfunctional, it can lead to poor overall health, and in particular can lead to some really serious disease states. But the liver is very resilient, and actually around 70 to 80% of liver function needs to be lost before the organ fails in entirety. So it can cope pretty well with different insults that it is exposed to until around sort of that 75-80% of cells are damaged and function is lost. So it's quite incredible.
It is, isn't it? I think if you, sorry to interrupt you, I was just thinking, the acute insults that some animals and people suffer from, things like infectious diseases or toxic insults to the liver, they may cause quite massive damage. And as long as we can support those animals in their acute illness, oftentimes the liver can regenerate pretty well, even if significant structural function is lost and biological function is lost for a short period of time. There's also that huge regenerative capacity that we see in the liver that we don't see in an organ like the kidneys, for example. If you lose an nephron, it's life, isn't it?
Exactly, and the same as the brain as well, very similar to neurons in the brain. So we are lucky in that way because the liver is so critical to total body health, and it is so regenerative. We can get away with quite a lot. However, we obviously want to support this very important organ as much as we can from a sort of health and preventative perspective. And how we can do that is largely through supply of antioxidants. So that can be through the diet or through supplementation. And the reason why antioxidants are so important from a preventative perspective, but also in the face of liver dysfunction, is because a lot of the liver diseases and the different sorts of sort of insults and damage that occurs to liver tissue involves oxidative stress. And obviously the liver, being where it's situated in conjunction with the gut, is exposed to a lot of different toxins through ingestion, and that can directly reach the liver through the portal circulation. So it needs to have a lot of protection in place to be able to cope with this, and then to also perform its detoxifying functions. So antioxidants, just to remind everyone, they help to neutralize the reactive oxygen species that exist in the body. And these sort of free radicals, is another way to call them, exist at all times. And so antioxidants that exist within the body sort of innately or are supplied through the diet or supplementation are really important to have in abundance to be able to protect this organ and all body tissues from damage from these reactive oxygen species. So I'll just touch on one of these antioxidants in particular, which is actually made by the liver. It's called glutathione, which everyone has probably heard of. It is actually the most important and abundant antioxidant in the whole body. And the reason why it's important for liver health is because if the liver is unhealthy or not functioning to its sort of maximum ability, then the glutathione levels in the liver, but also in the whole body, will decrease because the liver is not providing the right amount of the glutathione. So it's basically depleted in the presence of liver dysfunction. The liver is actually the primary source for glutathione for the whole body. And the other reason it's important is because if the liver is not producing as much glutathione, then it's not able to actually protect itself as much from sort of ongoing oxidative stress and cellular damage. So we'll refer back to glutathione when we discuss supplementation, because it becomes really critical there and important to know the background of before we get there.
Great. Thank you for all of that information. Yeah, and you're right. When the liver suffers damage, we oftentimes get a massive increase in consumption of these antioxidants, don't we? When the inflammatory reaction, we get produce of a lot more reactive oxygen species than we do in a normal healthy liver or everyday life. And so that leads to a massive increase in consumption of antioxidants in the liver. And that's another reason why, most patients with liver disease, it is recommended to administer hepatic antioxidants as an exogenous supply, simply because endogenous supply is being consumed so rapidly. And in addition to that, in severe liver disease as well, it may not be produced as much as you've already pointed out.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to sort of talk now a little bit about the PAW HepatoAdvanced product that PAW by Blackmores actually has available. It's really interesting as it actually contains 3 antioxidants, and I'm really curious to find out a little bit more about the PAW HepatoAdvanced product and how that might benefit our patients in light of what you've just discussed.
Yeah, that's perfect. I was going to bring that up next as well. It's a good segue into therapy. So we've talked about how glutathione is often deficient in the face of liver dysfunction and how critical it is as an antioxidant for liver health, but also for the whole body. So you're right, PAW HepatoAdvanced is a supplement. It's an oral supplement that contains 3 different antioxidants to support liver health specifically. And the first of these antioxidants is S-adenosylmethionine, or commonly shortened to SAMe. And it is, in fact, the major precursor for glutathione, and therefore helps to counteract that depletion that occurs with liver dysfunction and disease. In addition to behaving as a glutathione precursor, it acts as its own sort of antioxidant in its own way. It also can decrease inflammation. It's very hepatoprotective, so it can protect liver cells from any sort of toxic insults that they're exposed to. It also promotes bile excretion, which is important for some liver disease states that involve cholestasis. And it actually has some neuroprotective effects. So SAMe is quite commonly prescribed in the face of cognitive dysfunction as well, because it can protect the brain cells as well due to its antioxidant effects. So I'll just talk a little bit about the SAMe molecule. So it's quite a fragile molecule, I guess you would say. It's quite unstable and volatile. So in its natural form, it readily degrades. So it's important to ensure that it is, the most stable form can be selected for a supplement, but also that the packaging that the SAMe is enclosed in can protect it from becoming unstable. It's not a safety issue that it becomes unstable, it's an efficacy issue. So what we've done at PAW is we have not only selected a stable form of SAMe as the sort of inherent molecule present, but we also utilize a specific packaging called alu that helps to maintain the integrity of the SAMe over time. So as long as that packaging is intact, then the SAMe is intact within it up to the end of the shelf life, of course. In addition to this, we've also incorporated a delayed release technology in HepatoAdvanced, which means that the SAMe, being so unstable, can bypass the gastric digestive juices or the sort of gastric acid there. And that's important because if it's digested in the stomach, then it's not going to reach the liver where we want it to reach. So we have a technology present which delays the release of the SAMe from the formula until it reaches the small intestine, where it can then directly enter that portal circulation to reach the liver, where it's then metabolized. So it just makes sure that the maximum amount of SAMe can reach the liver using that technology. So the second antioxidant in PAW HepatoAdvanced is milk thistle or silymarin, and we use a complex silymarin that is with a phospholipid which can improve its bioavailability up to 4 times. So in its natural form, milk thistle is quite poorly absorbed. So to take just the pure herb sort of over the counter or purchased online, it will have some effect, but we can really improve the bioavailability by complexing it with a phospholipid, which is what we've done in this product. So silymarin or milk thistle has additional antioxidant properties. It's very hepatoprotective, similar to the SAMe. It can also promote bile flow. It supports protein synthesis and can protect against certain toxicities. So in particular, some toxic mushrooms, it's been clinically shown to protect against certain mushrooms like the Amanita mushroom toxicity. It's also anti-inflammatory, and it can also contribute to replenishing glutathione concentration. So it's a really nice combination of the SAMe and the silymarin in the supplement that can really support liver health and function. And lastly, the final antioxidant that we've included in the formula is vitamin E, which is actually routinely recommended by a lot of small animal medicine specialists for their liver patients. So quite often they would reach for a combination of silymarin and SAMe and vitamin E. And now what we've done is combine them all into one supplement. So vitamin E is a really important antioxidant in the body as well. It can preserve hepatocyte integrity. It's antifibrotic, anti-inflammatory, and also contributes to glutathione repletion. So it's just that triple whammy, really trying to maximize that glutathione concentration in the body with all three ingredients in the supplement.
That's great. It's nice to have a comprehensive combination of those 3 products in a one formulation. I wanted to talk now about the formulations because this is available for use in cats and dogs. So tell us a little bit about the tablet sizes and dosing and that sort of thing, those sorts of things that might be helpful for vets who are prescribing this.
Sure. Yes. So it's available in 2 sizes. So the small size is for cats and small dogs. We recommend under 15 kilos. And the large tablets are suitable for your sort of more medium to large dogs, but the dogs that are 10 to 15 kilos can also take half of a large tablet. So they have the option there of taking 3 of the smaller tablet or half of the large tablet. It's given daily and it can be used long-term safely. We recommend when first administering to recheck the liver enzyme levels in around 4 weeks after use. And most of the time we see a really great response within that short period of time, but it can be obviously be given long term, and some animals might need to be on it for the period of their lifespan. Importantly, when administering the supplement, so it's an oral chewable tablet that can be voluntarily consumed. However, obviously, as with any oral supplement, there are going to be some pets that perhaps don't like the taste or are not compliant with eating it themselves. So we do have some pet parents who do need to combine it with a small amount of food. We recommend no more than 1 tablespoon. It's ideally given on an empty stomach because that can really maximize the absorption and therefore maximize efficacy. We also don't recommend that the tablets are broken or crushed any more than halved. However, if the only way that a pet parent can get their animal to consume the tablet is by breaking it up and combining with food, is still going to be better than not giving it at all. We just want to make sure that people understand that to really maximize the absorption, it should be given 1 hour prior to food and entire or halved if you're giving a half dose. So did you have any other questions, Philip, about the dosing?
Really, I guess with the being a chewable tablet, and I know that I think you were going to talk about potential toxicity down the track, but let's say, I mean, dogs are dogs, and sometimes there are other animals in the household who might get hold of a bottle and chew it up and eat it. I work in emergency practice, and we see dogs eating all kinds of medications, acute overdose of this medication. What sort of information can you tell us about acute or long-term use at higher than recommended doses?
Yeah, sure. So luckily the SAMe and the milk thistle are very safe. So we don't have specific toxicity data that's been done on those ingredients in terms of sort of safety studies where 5 times overdose was given. However, in the literature, there's really been very few side effects seen when large doses are given, which would be the equivalent of a pet consuming more than their recommended daily dose. And we typically see if there is going to be any side effects seen from overdosing, it would be limited to gastrointestinal side effects, most likely. However, I must make sure that everyone understands with the vitamin E, it is recommended for any animal to not consume more than 400 IUs of vitamin E in 1 day due to its possible adverse effects on platelet function. And that's been confirmed in the literature. So we do have a warning on our medium to large HepatoAdvanced to not exceed 2 tablets a day to make sure that 400 IUs of vitamin E is not exceeded. So that would be the only warning I would have for risk of overdose. In terms of needing, emergency care, it's unlikely that an animal is going to have any sort of life-threatening issues with an overdose. It's just making sure that people are aware of that vitamin E risk if a patient was to take more than the 2 tablets a day of that large size.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information. I just want to talk now about contraindications or relative contraindications. When support with HepatoAdvanced be not recommended or to be recommended with use with caution?
Yeah, sure. So as with most supplements and pharmaceuticals, we would always suggest to use with caution in pregnant or lactating animals, and that's purely due to the lack of safety data available. It just has not been confirmed to be safe in this population. And there's also theoretical risk of some additive effects if administered at the same time as some different drugs. I can list them out if you like, but essentially it's there's a possible risk of additive serotonergic effects if used in conjunction with some antidepressants, including some behavior modification drugs such as fluoxetine, clomipramine, and selegiline. And there's caution to use at the same time as tramadol, dextromethorphan, and pentazocine. There's some unlikely drugs that pets would be on. Tramadol would probably be the more common. It's just a caution. So again, there's just a theoretical risk of sort of additive effects, and it's usually in relation to the way that the supplement and the drugs are metabolized in the liver with that cytochrome P450 phase of metabolism.
Right.
So that would be, that would be the only caution. And then obviously with the vitamin E in itself is not a toxic vitamin that when given in high amounts causes toxicity, but it can cause inhibition of absorption of other fat-soluble vitamins when administered at too high a dose. And so that's why the recommendation is to not exceed that total daily dose of 400 IUs. And importantly, if there is a liver disease patient that has evidence of vitamin K deficiency, so therefore some clotting issues, then vitamin E is not recommended for those patients due to its possible effect on clotting.
Great. Thank you so much for that information. Now, this is a veterinary prescription-only medicine. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's only available at vet clinics, and it's not prescription in that you need to have a written prescription from your vet, but it's only available at a vet clinic after being diagnosed with a liver condition from a vet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that information. I'm wondering if you could help us out just by pointing us in the direction of where we can find out some more information about this really, really useful hepatoprotective product there, HepatoAdvanced from PAW. Just websites, technical services helpline, those sorts of things.
Yeah, sure. No worries. So the best place to go to find some more information about PAW and about HepatoAdvanced would be our website, which is www.blackmores.com.au/PAW by Blackmores, or just by Googling PAW by Blackmores, you should find it there pretty easily. We do have a technical services line that you can access via the website, which is either you can do a live chat option, an email option, or request a callback by leaving a voicemail for our advisory team. And we always endeavour to get back to emails within 2 days and to calls within 1 working day.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sarah Howard from PAW by Blackmores, for your time today and for sharing some really useful insights on liver disease and the use of antioxidants, in particular PAW HepatoAdvanced product there to help animals out with liver dysfunction. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today, and thank you as well for that extra contact information. You can join us next time for another episode of Vet Synapse, and we hope to see you then.
Thanks, Philip. Lovely to be here. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Vet Synapse. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to visit our website, veteducation.com, for more great content and to experience the latest online race-approved veterinary continuing education.